Welcome to Cocktail Hour. I'm Andy.
And I'm the Rev.
Welcome to another episode of Cocktail Hour, and it's episode 19.
19, almost 20.
Almost 20, almost. Yay! This is Memorial Day weekend in the U.S. And a national observance to commemorate men and women who died while in military service. It was originally known as Decoration Day to honor the Union and Confederate soldiers following the American Civil War. And then,
really?
Yep.
I'm sorry, I didn't know that.
Yep,
Interesting.
Yep. It was extended after World War I to honor Americans who have died in all wars. So, see, you learn a little lesson today. It's nice, isn't it?
When I was stationed in Tucson at the Independent Duty Station, one of our jobs was to do Memorial Day services at one of the local cemeteries, and I remember this is Tucson. It's blazing outside and incredibly sunny, and there was never any shade, and we had to wear those patent leather shoes, and we're standing out there for like 2 hours, and your feet are just on fire.
Wow.
That's all I remember.
Wow.
And always having to work on that day.
Boy.
Just wanted to share that.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you did.
Yeah, all right then.
And this weekend also marks the start of summer vacation season with Labor Day at its end. So you see, yeah, we're all about, marking those events on the calendar.
There you go.
Other piece of news, actually, here comes the real exciting news. I got roped into moderating a panel at the GCLS this year. Yeah. It's Writers' Wives Speak Out. So, listeners of Cocktail Hour, do me a humongous favor, please, and send me questions that I can use to ask the writers' wives on the panel. Please.
I think I sent you a few, right?
You did, actually. I've been hounding my friends, my coworkers, my neighbors, and they see me coming out the door, they all run. They scatter like roaches when the light comes on.
I don't think that's because of the questions.
Yeah, you ass. Lordy. Let's see. Special note to Gloria, who listens to us all the time. I only ask you the question, hun. Just you.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw that. Thank you, Gloria. And I thought the same thing. I read that. I was like, no, it was just you.
Just you. And for those not in the know, never mind.
Never mind.
Yeah. Also, I'd like to know, Rev, how come my the photo I sent you of my dusty ass bar is not up on Cocktail Hour's website?
I don't know.
Okay.
I was only supposed to post the trunk, wasn't I? I posted the love trunk.
Yeah,
Wasn't
you
that
did.
Enough?
Yeah, no. You got to get my dusty bar up there.
Get your dusty something up there. I will try to locate the dusty bar. I'm sure I have it someplace. I will. I'm sorry. You got to be specific.
Yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm.
All
right. Okay. Let's see. Oh, and bigger news. It's been 4 weeks and 3 days since I puffed on a cancer stick.
Very proud of you. Congratulations.
Thank you. Marcello is worried about me using that Camel Snuff product. So we went to Costco today, and I bought a crate of Nicorette.
Good for you.
So hopefully all this gum will pull out my new fillings. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you don't actually chew it.
Yes, you do.
You chew it for a second, and then you stuff it in your cheek.
I know. I've been doing that too.
All right, then.
All right. And
That's how I quit. It works.
Well, we'll see. Last but certainly not least, I have a Facebook laugh for you. Just before we started the show, I was cruising Facebook, and one of my Facebook friends, Sally Brand, pardon me if I pronounced that incorrectly, she posted, do writers count the number of words they speak daily as well as the number of words they write? I thought that was hilarious. Because, every time you look at Facebook.
I love that.
Because you're always seeing writers throw up there, I wrote 900 words today. I wrote 1,200 words today. And then, Sally posted this question. I just thought that was too damn funny.
I almost responded to that because that means nothing to me. I'm not a writer. I don't know what that means. I mean, how many words is that?
Okay,
I mean, how many pages? Okay, so if somebody posts, I wrote...
Can I talk?
Yes.
Am I allowed to talk yet?
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
Listen.
Actually, hold on a second. Andy, why don't you introduce our
Okay, well, I wasn't sure since we started over.
It was a do-over. Okay. Oh, Lordy, I tell you. No, don't be sorry. Don't be sorry. Okay, listeners. Our special guest would like to speak up, so we thought we'd go ahead and give her a little accolades before we introduce her officially. She has penned one of the stories that we're going to review today, Galveston, which I mentioned earlier. And
no, you didn't. You cut all that out.
I did. I cut it out. Oh,
we just started
nuts.
right at the announcements.
Did I? Oh.
There was no intro.
Okay, here's the intro.
Welcome to Cocktail Hour.
No, we're not going that far back.
19.
Oh, Lordy, come on now. Okay, we're reviewing two stories today. Galveston, 1900 Swept Away by Linda Crist, and A Place to Rest by Erin Dutton. So, here are the accolades for Galveston and Linda Crist. Galveston won 2006 Academy of Bards Hall of Fame, 2006 Goldie Award finalist, East Bay Voice Recommended Reading List, Borders Lesbian Book Club Monthly Selection. Okay, that was local, Linda says. But I have you know, that fabulous book is out of print, which really makes me sad, but I'm sure we'll get into that a little later.
We're working on that.
Excellent. And awards for Linda. She's had 2009 Royal Academy of Bards Hall of Fame Lifetime Achievement Award. That's a little woo and a little who. 2005 Academy of Bards Hall of Fame inductee. Wow. Other book awards, she's had 2005 Academy of Bards Hall of Fame, The Bluest Eyes in Texas. 2009 Academy of Bards Hall of Fame for Borderline. Bards Village Challenge, first place for Destiny Conquered. Bards Village Challenge, first place for Crossing the Fire. A Zippy Award, Mary D's site, for Divinity. A Zippy Award for Crossing the Fire. A Swollen Butt Award. You gotta love the name of that award. For the bluest, for the bluest eyes in Texas. A Swollen Butt Award for Conquest of the Heart. And she's written Xena Subtext Virtual Seasons. And the list goes on and on. She's like a celebrity. Hello, in the whole fanfic bard world. And
in my own mind.
Mine too. And welcome, Linda Crist, to Cocktail Hour.
Hi. I'm glad to be here. Sounds like fun.
We'll see, won't we?
No, Lordy. Okay. So you wanted to hop in.
Yeah,
I was just laughing about the word count thing because it meant absolutely nothing to me either for a long time until I one day counted my own words after I had written one of my updates. And then I was like, oh, okay. I'm not impressed with any of you people.
So, okay, what does...
That's probably inappropriate, but we'll see.
Well, you didn't mention anybody by name, for God's sake.
No, I didn't.
So, what does one page in word count equal?
I'm not sure about one page, but one of my updates averages about 3,000 words. So...
That doesn't help me.
That's about four or 5 pages, I guess.
Okay. Well, then, no, I'm not very impressed at all with a lot of those.
So,
you'll come back to me when you can put up some double digits or some
yeah, double digits.
Digits. No. I was thinking, in the thousands, 10,000 or something like that.
Oh, I thought you meant like double digits page count in a day.
Oh, yeah. See, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
That's something to be impressed about.
Now, to be fair, a lot of those people write every day. I would have to kill myself if I wrote every day, so I am impressed with that.
You don't write every day?
Oh, hell no. Am I allowed to curse on this show?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay.
We do it all the time.
Constantly.
Mm-hmm.
We have an explicit rating on our iTunes feed.
Oh, so. Gotcha. Okay. Well, then hell no, I don't write every day.
I've got to say, Linda, I came to the fanfic world really, really late. I think I discovered it completely by accident toward the winter of 2005. And I think,
okay.
yeah, and I think I found Galveston probably about 3 or 4 months in, and loved it from the first time that I read it. Just loved it.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yep. So I don't want to give too much away because I know Rev is going to be kind enough to do the actual summary of the story, and then we can get down into the nitty-gritty.
Okay. Well, I don't know if I'm kind enough. I think I was directed to. I think that was.
So if it makes you feel any better, I wrote it 9 years ago, and I haven't read it in about 5. So you can make stuff up, and I'd be like, "Oh, that's great." So,
this story is about Rachel Travis and Maddie Crockett, who flew to the moon,
which was really impressive in 1900.
It's a futuristic tale. All right, well, let's see if I can. I didn't actually write anything out, but I just took a few notes of things that I want to touch on about what the story is about. So Galveston 1900 swept away. It takes place in Galveston in 1900, and our main characters are Rachel Travis and Madeline Crockett. And each of these characters have their own unique set of problems. Maddie is married to an incredibly abusive man named Adam, who regularly terrorizes her physically and emotionally. And she's very young. She's 18. They were married when she was 14 years old. Rachel has been on her own since she was 15, when she was caught with another woman in, I believe, the barn by her father, and she was either going to be delivered to a convent or forced into a marriage with a much older guy. So she took off at 15.
But wait, wouldn't God be a much older guy? Just go ahead. Sorry. I couldn't help it. Please continue.
Okay. So Rachel's been living in Galveston. She's now 23. She does work on the docks, various jobs. And Maddie and her husband Adam have a house on the beach. We're not quite sure what Adam does for a living. And Maddie works part-time at the tailor shop with the Vaughns, Mr. and Mrs. Vaughn. And Rachel also has a part-time job in a saloon that also serves as a brothel. And we learn pretty quickly that she does have a friendship with one of the whores named Lily, and also has sex with her on occasion. We learn about some different folks and some different background folks and we can just start from there.
Okay.
Let's just start from there.
All right, let's start from there.
Well, they meet. Rachel and Maddie meet, and they become friends. And it's kind of an odd friendship, one you wouldn't really expect. But they find actually that they have a lot more in common than what anyone else would really think. Okay, now let's start. Is that okay, Linda? Did I?
That was wonderful. That was much better than I would have done.
Okay. Well, excellent.
Yeah.
All right then. Do you want to go, or you want me to go, or what?
How about you go for a change? I usually go right after your summary, but let's shake it up a little bit. Let's be brave.
All right, then. First thing I want to say is that this really seemed like it could have been two separate books. You have the beginning, the first part of the book is and we need to say that we are working off of, Andy and I are both working off of the online version. We don't, I believe, Linda, and you can verify this, but we weren't able to find a copy of the book to purchase.
Right, it's out of print right now, so anything that's out there for sale is just leftover stock.
Okay, are there any plans to re-release this?
I am working on that. In fact, I had started editing it for publication a while back, but I only got a couple of chapters in so far. So the first chapter, a couple of chapters, I'm familiar with. It's the rest of it that I might be a little fuzzy on minor details and stuff, or maybe even major ones. But we'll see. I'm just having I'm trying to figure out what route I want to take to publish, whether I want to self-publish or whether I want to work with a publisher. I've got certain criteria that I want, and so far I haven't found anyone that meets all my criteria. So I guess maybe I'm just difficult.
Nope.
Well, it's your work.
We'll see.
I think everybody should be particular when they're putting out books. I mean, this is it's a piece of art. It's a piece of you. So hold on, sister. Do what you need to do to get it right.
Yep. You don't want to compromise.
I think it's pretty easy to self-publish now. There's ways that you can go about it where there's not too much work on the distribution side where there once was. So that's probably what I'll end up doing. I just haven't had the time to get to it. So anyway.
All right. So for me, I felt like it really could have been two separate books. The first part being the coming together of Rachel and Maddie, the development of their friendship, their growing attraction to each other, and dealing with the husband and really so that part, right? And then the second part, which deals with the typhoon or the hurricane, the cyclone, the what? What was it called?
Hurricane?
Yeah, it was
back then it was called I think just a tropical cyclone. I don't believe they were actually using the term hurricane then.
Right. I couldn't think of tropical. I could think cyclone, and that was it. Okay, so the tropical cyclone. So for me, that really stood out. That and I wanted to ask you, one of the things that I did want to ask you is, this is a really long story.
Yes, it is.
The published version, were you able to cut a lot out to make it more compact?
Yes, I did. There was quite a bit of the end story cut off. And we tightened a lot of things up. And in fact, it's funny that you mentioned the two stories, because we made a very determined point of the first half of the book leads up to the confrontation at the bridge, where Adam gets washed into the water, and then second half is the storm and them surviving the storm. And it's not exactly in halves, but it's two different parts. And that bridge is the bridge. So we did a lot of work to drive it towards that point, and that's really the climax, actually, in the book, is where he gets washed away. And in the book, that's where he dies. That whole snake thing, we took that out, and that's probably the only part that I got a lot of grief for taking out, because people just loved him being killed by all the snakes.
Yeah.
I may put that back in. That's the end of the story in the published version. We took out the Christmas epilogue, and we moved a lot of the storm aftermath activities before the beach scene. So we moved it to a later time, after they've had time to process a little bit more. And so that happens, I think, a few weeks after the storm. They go to the beach, and that's the end of the story.
So we don't actually get the birth. So when do we get the birth? Does the birth?
Oh, I did put an epilogue in with the birth, just the birth. Yeah. So we do see the baby born.
One of the Andy, do you want to go? Because otherwise I'm just going to keep rambling.
Yeah, let me squeeze in a few sentences. I have to say, I'm kind of sad to hear that you actually edited out anything from the online version, because when I read that story, it just popped. Everything was so vivid and so alive, and these characters just jumped right off the page, and I almost just couldn't get enough of what there was, and that book was mammoth. But it was so fascinating and so engaging, and I felt like I was actually there from the very beginning to the very end. And I actually didn't want it to end. That's how greedy I am. I really, really loved this story.
Yeah, I think the published version, most of the changes were relatively really extraneous things other than the snake scene.
Yeah.
And we actually brought in the two older women,
Angel and Betsy.
Angel and Betsy. Yes, we brought them in earlier in the story.
Good.
So Rachel actually goes to visit them earlier in the story. Lily starts talking to her about them, and Rachel decides to go visit them. She's like, "Oh my gosh, there's people out there like me," So she goes, and they kind of have a roundabout conversation, and then because the two women, Betsy and Angel, are very wary, of course.
Yeah.
And so they finally come out to each other, basically, and they become friends.
That's nice.
Yeah.
I have to say that I cried really hard when Angel and Betsy gave up their seat, and what happens after that.
Oh, that was sad.
That really touched me a lot, and I had a tough time reading through that. I actually reread it. I finished my reread this morning, and my kid is sitting across from me eating his pancakes, and I'm sitting there with tears rolling down my face. Luckily, he's oblivious to anything that has to do with me, so it was fine. But
Mom's coming. I'm going to finish the Cheerios now.
Yeah, you're fine. You're fine. I'm used to you. But that really did touch me a lot. I really enjoyed the characters, and I had to keep reminding myself that they were 18 and 23, because they had so much. They had so much life experience, and they had so much baggage and emotional trauma that they had to deal with that I had to keep. Oh wait, they're very young.
Well, they started having to live like adults when they were in their early teens, so it makes sense,
It's pretty realistic for those times. In fact, my grandmother, who was born in around 1915 or so. She was actually married off to a man twice her age when she was 14.
Ew, wow.
That's just incredible to me. I mean, I know that it happened, but it's, you did such a good job of making Rachel and Maddie so real, and it was easy to feel what they were going through.
Mm-hmm.
And easy to connect with them. You gave them a lot of the backstory and a lot of my mind went blank. Goddamn tequila.
Yeah, but it didn't it didn't make the story drag, and that takes a particular skill in wordcraft to get that done. You know what I mean? Because how many times have you read something that you're like, oh please, I don't care about the history, and you move a little fast through it because it kind of just drags. But in this story, it doesn't.
No, the only thing that I had that I felt was a bit overkill was when they were constantly professing their love for each other, and I understand that this is something that neither of them had ever thought would happen to them, but it for me it got pretty heavy.
Mm.
Yeah, I can't remember. I'm sure we edited some of that, but I have a bad habit of doing that in all of my stories, quite honestly.
What really surprised me and touched me was the plight of the children in the orphanage during the storm. I got to tell you, my heart tightened up. It was really tough to read, and I was so glad those little guys made it.
That was actually historical. That actually happened. Pretty much like that, as far as we know. There were 3 boys that survived from the orphanage, and they really did find the bodies of the nuns and the children tied together, buried under the sand on the beach after the storm.
Wow. I was so impressed by this story. I remember having to go and do some research online, and I found several photos of the aftermath of that storm, and it just was, the imagery was just powerful. So I had that in the back of my head, as I was rereading it, excuse me, for the show. And it was like, wow, just wow. How anybody survived that is just amazing to me.
I mean, it looks like somebody just dropped a bomb on the island.
Yeah.
Yeah, you really did a great job of describing the sounds and the feelings and the physical as well as the emotional, and from so many different points of view. And I know that you said that some of the storm stuff got cut. But the separate experiences, the experiences of the nuns and the children, and of Angel and Betsy and the rest of the people that were in St. Peter's, and Lily, Billy, and Rachel and Maddie, they each had their own separate stories going, and you did such a great job of making me want to continue to read about every one of them.
Yep.
and feel each and every one of their experiences. You really did a great job of that.
Yep.
Oh, thank you.
What inspired you to write this story, Linda?
Actually, that's funny, because it never would have occurred to me to write this story. I was on some Yahoo group. I can't even remember which group it was, because back at the height of this universe, most of us were on like 10 Yahoo lists for different things. And it was a small group, and a friend of mine that lives in Galveston actually came on the list, and I've met her and her partner a couple of times when some of the Texas Z-Nights have gotten together down in Austin. Mm-hmm. And she just casually mentioned she wished someone would write a story about the 1900 storm. And at the time, I kind of went, and put that, just kind of tucked the idea away. And I can't remember what I was working on at the time, but later on, when I was getting ready to write a new story, I went, well, let's take a look at this, because I grew up going to Galveston almost every summer on vacation with my family, and so I've been in the Hurricane Museum, dozens of times, and but I hadn't been back as an adult in a long time to the museum itself, and so did a lot of research online, and that's how the story kind of formulated in my head. I'm like, okay, how can I get two women into this situation?
Wow.
And basically, one of the big catalysts was that at that time, I think Galveston was the second or third largest seaport in the country, after I think New York and San Francisco. It was the main port where cargo was shipped through the middle of the country, other than up and down the Mississippi River. If they were doing it by rail, it went through Galveston. And the storm is pretty much what destroyed that for them. After that, everything moved up further north to Houston, where it was a little bit more protected.
Wow.
And so that's how I found a way for Rachel to work on the island in a non-traditional way.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, she worked her behind off.
She did, and I loved her see-through white T-shirts.
Yeah, right?
Her co-workers appreciated that, too.
Yeah, I bet. And that poor thing, I mean, her snack food, day in, day out, that would get boring as hell. What did she have, crackers and salt pork?
Yep.
Oh,
yeah,
Lordy.
Crackers and salt pork and pickles.
Yeah. Well, the pickles were a little ad by the woman in the store, weren't they? Yeah. Wow.
I do want to say that I was caught off guard by Adam's actual profession. I don't know if we want to mention it, what it is, but I was caught off guard by it. I was expecting him to be a gambler or something like that, and I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah.
Okay, now, in the book, I think I had him as a slave runner, correct?
Yeah, the online version was the slave runner, yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay, that was the online version. In the book, we turned him into an illegal arms dealer.
Oh. Equally shocking.
Yeah.
Well, the slavery part was a little bit over the top, and we wanted to get him into something that was a little bit more realistic.
Okay.
And a little bit easier to hide than dealing in people.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true, because people on the docks they would have had to have really had some, had been paying off a lot of money to a lot of people to get that to go.
Yeah. Arms were a lot easier to hide, and quite honestly, it's been so long since that I've written that part that I can't remember exactly how I worked that in. But I think he was trading with Cuba and some other places.
Cuba and
was
Mexico.
a big enemy. Yeah. So, so that's what he was doing with the arms, and he was gambling, but the arms was his main thing.
Well, he was a cowardly bastard who I was happy to see the snakes get him. So if you do it again, put that back in.
Yeah, put the snakes back in for sure, because it's like just desserts. You know what I mean? A snake got taken down by snakes. You know, it was great.
The only thing that would have made it better, and yes, I know everybody was probably expecting it, is when you've got those two snakes going up his pant legs.
Mm-hmm.
Bite him in the stuff.
Yeah, bite him in the junk.
That's right. Here's a piercing for you, buddy.
Oh no, that's great.
That is so wrong.
We're getting a little extra circle here.
Good Lord. I know this isn't on the schedule, but I just have to ask. And it's been a really, really long time since I've read, was it Bluest Eyes of Texas? Did I get that right? I have to look back at my notes.
Yeah.
That story I enjoyed it. I do remember enjoying it, but can you tell me a little bit about the backstory about how you got Renee O'Connor to read an excerpt, or is that not for public consumption?
I had nothing to do with that. She was a guest at the last Orlando BardCon in October of 2005. I think it was October. Yeah, October of 2005, and she was going to go on stage and do some readings for us, which she did, and some of it, we actually had her start out reading the Theolinus's The Headmistress. Have you ever read that?
Uh-uh.
It's a very racy BDSM story.
Really? How did I miss that?
And she read it like a champ. She was hilarious.
Oh, wow.
And she read like, I want to say 2 or 3 paragraphs of that. And then she read some from several different books. And I think some of them she chose herself and some of them were handed to her. And because she's not necessarily familiar with who all's there and that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if she chose that one or if somebody handed it to her. Mm-hmm. But she basically just opened them and wherever and started reading.
Oh, wow.
So that's kind of what happened. And at the time I was sitting in the very back of the room. We had a table set up where earlier she had been signing some autographs and things for people. Mm-hmm. And her mother was back there. Her mother was there with her, and I think her son was there. We did. We saw him very briefly that morning. So she basically brought her family to come enjoy Disney while she was there.
Nice.
And so I was sitting next to her mom when she started doing the readings, and I was just about to crawl under the table and die of embarrassment.
Why?
I was like, well, she needed to stop when she did, and luckily she did, because she was about to get to a point where Kennedy and Carson were going to rehash their first time.
Oh, Lordy.
Like, it was the morning after their first lovemaking scene.
Oh,
is where she started reading, and they were to go on their hike. And I'm sitting there silently going, "Please stop! Please stop! Please stop!" And she did. She stopped just in time.
Oh, that's too funny. That's pretty cool. Did you get pictures so that, like, you can frame that, her holding your book and reading it?
I did not, but a couple of my friends did.
Oh, well, that's good.
That's cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
Yeah, that's fun. She's neat, and her mom's really, really nice, very charming lady. She was very generous to everybody there.
Oh, very nice. I was really surprised to learn that she had actually attended a BardCon. That it just was amazing to me. You know, the sense of her recognizing the community and how the show had just spawned a whole world of creative writing based on those two characters. Xena Gabrielle. I just think that's just phenomenal.
Yeah, that was a pretty amazing time.
Yeah, and I missed it. Damn it.
Shit, I came to it much later than you did.
Yeah.
And it was so all-consuming. I can't imagine ever getting involved in another fandom like that again. It was so much fun, but it was just literally, you would come home in the evening and start reading mail and reading stories and going back and forth, and next thing you'd look up and it was midnight.
Wow. Let me think. Is there anything else you'd like to talk about, Rev, about the story?
Let me look at my notes.
Okay, look at your notes. Is there anything you'd like to tell us, Linda, while Rev is looking at her notes?
Wow. It's one of those stories where the few times that I have reread it, I don't know where it came from sometimes. You know what I mean? Like it's like I'm reading somebody else's story.
Really?
Yeah, because it's just, I don't usually get caught up in my own work, but I do that one. I read it almost like somebody else wrote it. Well, it's just one of those things. It really flowed for me, and usually my best work is like that. My best stories are ones where I didn't try too hard when I was writing. Yeah, if that makes sense. They just flow, and this one really flowed.
Which one is your favorite of all the stuff that you've written?
Oh wow. Honestly, Galveston, I think, is my best work of everything I've written. My favorite, as far as the writing process, was probably Borderline, which is a sequel to Bluest Eyes, which actually a lot of people didn't care for as much as the first story. But for me, it was, there was a lot of emotion in that book, and I really get into that. And it was just a very meaningful experience to write it. Because that's the story where all this stuff is going on, but the ultimate point of the story is they figure out they do want to be together forever.
Are you still writing?
I am and I'm not. I started a pirate story over a year ago.
Ooh. Wait, we're perking up. We're perking up.
And I wrote and wrote and wrote, and I got to a point about 4 or 5 months ago, close to the end of the story, and it just kind of, I don't want to call it writer's block. I don't want to call it writer's apathy. I just kind of reached a point where I've just had a lot going on otherwise in my personal life. Nothing bad. But just very busy with a lot of other things. And I felt like I had stopped writing for me and I was writing for my list. And I love my readers, but it felt like I was forcing it almost. I will finish that story, and I keep telling them that, and I feel bad because I've never gone this long, especially with one that I'm almost done with, where I just stop like that. But I just kind of reached a point where I needed to take a breather. I'm not, I haven't quit writing. I think a lot of people think I have, but I just, like I said, it's not writer's block. I know what needs to happen to finish it. I'm just not at a place where I feel like writing it. But I will be.
I had one other note that I don't know if you want to comment on it or not, and I may be getting this wrong, but I was thinking about how Rachel and Maddie kind of connected. And what I kind of came up with is that in the beginning, Rachel hates herself for being gay, and Maddie hates herself for being weak and being unable to please her husband.
Right.
And I think they kind of came together, and each one saw the strengths and beauty in the other, and by the end, or actually well before the end of the book or the story, the online story anyway, they had reconciled that and kind of saved each other. So that was just one of the notes that I had.
Yeah, that's very true. A couple things I would add to that are first of all, that Maddie was very naive. I mean, she's married at 14. She's never had a chance to know what it's like to actually fall in love with someone. And she's a romantic. She reads her books and she has ideas about how things should be, but she doesn't have any real life experience in that at all. So that's one way that she was able to be, I guess, open to a relationship with a woman once the idea was presented to her, because she's totally naive. She just has no background at all in loving someone. And then for Rachel, because of who she was, she never thought it would be possible to fall in love with somebody and have a relationship any deeper than what she had with Lily. So in that way, they both found love that they thought they'd never have, I guess.
Yeah, that was exactly, yeah. Wow.
I think that's kind of what you said. but that's one thing I kept in mind when I was editing is that Maddie is very naive. And so I tried to make that a little bit more pronounced in certain places.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it really does come throughout the first part of the book. And once she's kind of done with Adam, she really does. I mean, she just kind of stands on her own and becomes much more of a sexual being, mm-hmm. for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I toned that down a little bit in the published version, at least initially, because I felt like for the times, even for somebody that would have been more aware than she was, they were going at it a little too often. But I didn't cut out a lot, but I did cut out a couple of love scenes, and I combined a couple of love scenes.
Well, that actually makes sense. It's hard for me though to say that there's too much love scenes. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I was waiting for your objection.
Yeah. Okay. Mm. Those regular listeners will know exactly what's running through my head.
The 7 foot.
Linda doesn't know about that.
7 foot arms. I've seen those before in stories. I'm like, how did they do that?
Yeah,
no. This is the 7 foot dildo with the Hitler mustache from Parties at Congress, I believe it was.
Yeah. When I call that Moody's Creations.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it takes a special kind of woman.
Yeah, no doubt. And she whistles on windy days. Oh, Lordy.
Well, I don't have any more notes. I just want to say that, I really enjoyed this. I enjoyed it. I actually enjoyed it more the second time that I read it than I did the first, because I was able to pay extra attention to the details that I may have been too caught up in the emotions the first time to read. So, thank you very much for sharing this with us. It's a great story.
Oh, most definitely.
Oh, well, thank you for having me on the show. I really enjoyed this and really enjoy talking to people and talking to readers, so that's always fun.
Well, when you decide to finish up that pirate story, let us know.
Oh, yeah.
I'll do that. I'm hoping to get that done this summer. So
excellent. We'll have you back.
Yeah. You haven't posted installments of the pirate story, have you?
I posted them on my list, but I haven't posted them to any websites.
Oh, okay. Do you actually have a website?
I don't right now. I'm like the laziest writer on earth. I'm like, I don't have a website. I don't do promotions unless they land in my lap like this show did. I'm really horrible about that. But although right now I don't really have anything to promote, so as far as sales go. But I do like staying in touch with readers. So this has been a lot of fun.
Excellent. Well, maybe one day we'll see you at one of the cons. They're going to have the next con in Minneapolis. Hint, 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 hint.
Yeah. What's really hard for me about those is not so much that I couldn't go to them. It's that my job is very sedentary. I'm in front of a computer 8 hours a day. Mm-hmm. And so when I go on vacation, I want to do some things that are really active. Oh, so it's kind of hard for me to go to an activity where I'm going to be sitting down a lot like that. So it's kind of one of these days. I've been to a couple of them. Mm-hmm. So I think my ideal would be to just go and hang out for like half a day and then go play for the rest of the time.
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah, that's what I did last year. Spent a lot of time at Epcot, drinking my way around the world.
That's fun. I like drinking my way around the world at Epcot. I'm going to be doing that this fall. Actually, so.
Very nice. Good time to go. You won't sweat your butt off.
Yeah, I'm going to go out there for the Food and Wine Festival in the fall.
Nice.
So that'll be fun.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Linda, for being on. We really, really appreciate it. and we would love
Well,
to have you back.
Well, thank you. I really enjoyed it, and look forward to maybe being back on and later on down the road.
Sounds great. Excellent. Yay.
Yay. Okay, so we're on to our second offering, which is A Place to Rest by Erin Dutton. And Rev, you're going to do a little summary for us?
I am. I'm going to read the summary for this one, and then I want to expand on it a little bit. Now, I didn't reread this because I just read it like 2 weeks ago, and I didn't have time because I wanted to finish reading the 4-book Damn Shaken series from K.G. McGregor because I had to do it. So there you go.
I'm going to try and round her up at the con. You know that, right?
You what?
I'm going to try and round her up at the con. Get her to do a little something for the bar rag. What was that, Linda?
I love KG. She's one of my favorite people.
She's an excellent writer.
I love her stories. I have had one issue with her, but I'm sure she doesn't listen to the show, so she probably won't blackball you. So I always say good things about her writing. I just, had that one issue.
She is such a sweetheart. She and I share the same birthday, and every year on Facebook she sends me a private email to say happy birthday. She's a sweetie.
That's very nice.
Yeah, she's very nice. Okay, so go ahead, read the summary, and then expand, please.
All right. So A Place to Rest by Erin Dutton. Sawyer Drake has never known what she wants, except it isn't working in the family business, which is what everyone expects. In order to outrun her destiny, or at least delay the inevitable, she bounces from job to job and woman to woman. Nothing has ever kept her attention for very long. Nothing, that is, until she meets shy pastry chef Jory Diamantina. But Jory has no intention of risking the job she loves and a life she's comfortable with for a passing fling with Sawyer, no matter how strong the attraction. Sawyer has no idea what she wants from Jory or from life, but she's about to find out because Jory makes her want to stop running. A Place to Rest is a touching romance about the beauty of finally discovering where you belong. I just wanted to expand on this a little bit. No, never mind, because the tequila's kicking in, so let's just go.
Tequila!
Linda, this is how the show usually goes. So, when it's just us rambling on, so you're about to experience the uncensored version of the show. Now,
a little techno music in the background or something.
Andy, you sent me an email. Oh wait, okay. Here we go. Let's just go for. Never mind. All right. So, I have to say right off that I really like this story, and I don't think that the description. The book jacket description really does Sawyer justice. I think it's, it kind of misleading about the type of person she is. Mm-hmm. And I know you sent me a text message saying that you were starting to despise Sawyer.
Yeah. I found this to be probably one of the most excruciatingly painful reads ever.
Wow, yeah. I don't like you anymore.
I thought the characters were very two-dimensional. There was not anything... nobody was remarkable. I mean, everybody was like cookie cutter. I couldn't feel the emotion for Jory. I couldn't feel it for Sawyer.
I don't see how you could say Jory is cookie cutter. She was a
pastry chef.
Her house when she was 8 years old because her father beat the crap out of her so bad that he cracked her ribs and she ended up in the hospital.
Yeah, it just
Sawyer maybe a little bit more, but even she has it's not that she's really a womanizer. She's just terrified of being hurt.
It's all window dressing.
I don't see Jory as a cookie cutter character at all.
It's all window dressing. These I could not
window
feel.
Dressing for what?
I could not feel these characters. I couldn't feel them. This is a personal experience that I had. I couldn't feel these characters.
All right. Well, I disagree with you. I felt felt very connected to the Jory character. She and I actually share a lot of the same childhood, and I could feel that. And Sawyer, one of the main things that I connected with Sawyer immediately was her discussion of how, she's not an attractive person at all. She's plain. She relies on her personality to get people to notice her and to talk to her. And, that's always been my experience too. So, for me, I was really able to connect with both of them. And I didn't see them as two-dimensional at all. I saw them as very damaged, and Sawyer rebelling against her sister, who treats her like shit. And I don't know, I disagree with you.
Okay,
so.
Well, we can agree to disagree.
Yeah,
it's almost like the writer tried too hard, but wasn't able to spark that emotion that she was trying to spark for me as the reader. For me, I couldn't feel it. So naturally,
so there are no redeeming qualities in this book for you at all. Wow.
No, not really. No.
Was this her first book?
No, this is, I think, her fourth.
Okay.
Yeah, no. I'm sorry. I didn't care for it.
No, you did. If you didn't like it, you didn't like it.
Didn't care for it. And I did. I actually did try to find... I tried to find the good. But I couldn't. It was painful. Probably about a quarter of the way in to the end.
Well, there you go. One of my favorites, and you hate it. But, that just goes to show, everybody likes different stuff. So
yeah, that's true. That's true.
So in general, we haven't done we haven't really done many just basic romances. How do you feel about those in general?
If they're really well done, I like them.
Well, sorry, Erin Dutton.
Well, you got 1 for, 1 against.
All right, well, that pretty much wraps up this show.
I'm sorry. I wish I could say more.
No, actually,
there's not really much of a discussion that you can have with, about something when you lead with it was horrible, and I couldn't find any redeeming qualities. So I mean, there's really not much left to discuss.
Yeah. How come I felt like I just got taken to school?
Well, you feel how you feel about it, but I can't defend it because so there's nothing for me to say.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Well, yes, I am sorry, Erin Dutton. I really did want to try and like this book because Rev liked it so much. And, when Rev likes something a lot, I am surprised to find that I do like it. Like our SVU fic that you cajoled me into reading, which I really, really, really enjoyed.
Cajoled. That's a nice way of saying I have not ripped your arm out. That's okay. This is probably the first time that we've disagreed so much.
Yeah, totally.
It's fun though. Taste is what it is. That's something that I've always come back to is just because I don't like something doesn't mean somebody else isn't going to love it, and vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the closest we came to this before was Justine Saracen.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Mephisto Aria. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well.
Well, since we still have Linda with us, Linda, what is your favorite? Or maybe you might not want to say this, and if you don't, I completely understand, and you don't have to answer. But what is one of your favorite fanfic or Uber stories that you didn't pen that you like?
Oh, okay. Well, Uber, I absolutely love Melissa Good's Darn Carey series.
Mm-hmm.
I just love those characters. They're people that could live next door to you. Well, not next door to me because I can't afford Fisher Island. But they're just normal people going about their lives. Mm-hmm. They what I really like about that series is that it doesn't so much emphasize the lesbian story, as it emphasizes that these are just two normal people who happen to be lesbians.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just going about their normal lives. And, of course, them being gay comes up throughout the story for various reasons, but it isn't the emphasis. The emphasis of her stories is just them getting through different situations.
Mm-hmm.
Which are incredibly unnormal, really.
Yeah, they are. I mean, most of us don't end up
locked in mental hospitals and
yeah, but I do like that her books actually tell a story as opposed to the lesbian experience being the story. I guess, if that makes sense.
Yep.
One of my favorite Zena Gabrielle stories online is a story called 7 Days in Pompeii by DJWP.
Yeah, we talked about that on the show.
Oh, it's excellent.
Yeah, I love that story. Absolutely love it.
Yeah, that's an excellent story.
I also love Susan Maher's San Francisco series.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I find I can, like with the San Francisco series and the Dar and Carrie and the Journey of the Soulmates, I can only get through 3 or 4 of them before I'm burned out.
Yeah, it happens, though. It happens. Sometimes you just feel like, especially with as involved as those two writers are with how far they've taken their characters and the circumstances that they find themselves in, sometimes you just say, okay, I've had enough of peeping in their lives. Like you want to go on to something else. Doesn't mean that you don't enjoy the stories. It just means that you're ready to move along.
Oh, something else I actually started rereading a while back, and I do not normally reread stories very often. But I got an iPad, and so I started converting some of my favorite old stories to iBook format. Mm-hmm. And then I started reading some of them. Is the Exposure series that Fanatic and T. Novin wrote.
Oh,
I don't know if y'all are familiar with that.
Yep, read that a couple times. It's
years
very
ago.
good.
Yeah, it was. But that was years ago. Wow.
Yeah.
I read it again earlier this year.
Oh.
Yeah, I went to one of the fanfic sites and just started converting stories to iBook format and putting them on my iPad.
Nice.
And so I started getting all the ones that I remembered loving back in the day and putting them on there to read.
Sweet.
Well, let us know which ones you want, because we probably have them all.
Yeah, we did a pretty extensive conversion.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we did. And speaking of conversions, and we talked about Susan Maher, is, excuse me, All That Matters. Excellent story that you can still get online and a printed book, which are a little bit different, which is really neat. But yeah, that's one of my very all-time favorites, and I'm so pleased to say that Susan has agreed to come on the show whenever we can get our schedules to align, and that's going to be a fun show too.
She is great. She is hilarious too.
She's funny. She really is, and I think she's going to be at the con this year. Yay! Very excited.
The con is it's in Orlando this year, or is it in Minneapolis this year?
No, it's in Orlando this year, Minneapolis next year. Actually, Rev is going to go to the con next year when it's in Minneapolis, so I'm very excited because we haven't physically met. So this will be
wow.
Yeah, this will be really cool.
And I live in Wisconsin, so Minneapolis is just hop, skip, and a jump.
Mm-hmm.
I would never have known you hadn't met. Y'all play off each other really well.
All right, so we're not going to have a show next in 2 weeks because I'll be at the con. No, we're not going to have a show.
But I believe that shortly after we would have published the show, we should have a nice long bar rag filled to the gills with wonderful comments and interviews from GCLS.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we may be able to try out our video capabilities at that point also.
Well, I thought we might do it earlier with Vertigo's submission. I haven't given it to you yet because I'm still trying to figure out how to put some intro in there. Holy mackerel, that is not easy.
I have some ideas on that, so we should talk.
Okay, we'll talk offline.
All right. However, on June 25th, we have another guest. We have Nan Hawthorne coming on to talk about her newest book. And now all I can think of is Pilgrim Bitch.
Pilgrim.
But that's not it. And I don't have it pulled up anymore. anywhere. What is it?
Oh, yeah, right. Because all I popped in my mind after Pilgrim Bitch was Pilgrim Pride. We know that's not it either.
No, that wasn't it either. Damn it, Andy, we just went through this.
It's so sad. Hold on, I got my email up. Hold on, it's probably right here.
It starts with a B. Beloved Pilgrim,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she's doing self-publishing, Linda, by the way.
Who is? I'm sorry.
Nan
Hawthorne?
Nan Hawthorne. She's doing, yeah, she's self-publishing.
Beloved Pilgrim.
There it is, Beloved Pilgrim.
Yay! Okay, so Nan will be on with us on the 25th, and we will be talking about Beloved Pilgrim, her newest book, and then and discuss In the Blood of the Greeks by Mary D. Brooks. And I've read it once. I really enjoyed it. Hopefully, it'll live up to my expectations in the reread. And so there you go. That's what we're doing. And July, we got stuff going on in July too. But we're not going to talk about that.
No,
unless you want to.
Nah. And, in case it changes, But you know what we didn't do? We were so excited having Linda on. We didn't talk about what the drink of the week was.
I wanted to say that the last several shows have involved drinks with sex or women's names.
Yeah.
Or sex with women's names.
Right, yeah.
And this week, this show doesn't disappoint. This one is our lovely margarita.
A margarita. Yeah. And it was very good. We did a traditional or classic margarita, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I love margaritas.
She's delicious.
She is delicious.
And she's a little tart, but a little sweet underneath.
Yeah.
That's how I like them. Got a little kick to her.
Kick, a little bite. She has a little bite.
She's a little salty. She can be a little salty.
Make you pucker up.
Yep.
Well, we've had many, but Linda hasn't. Are you still on your first beer?
I am, because I never got up to go get the second one. But I'm about to do that.
Oh.
All right.
Well,
well, thank you for joining us, and seriously, let us know when you're ready to. I think there's sugar at the bottom of my bowl. I mean, at the bottom of my.
What did you put in the dog bowl? What the hell?
No, in the bottom of my glass, I must have been thinking of that Nina Simone song. Should put some sugar in my bowl.
Oh no!
And I only put like about half the sugar and about half the lime. Can you hear me mixing it up?
Yeah. Did you use lime concentrate or did you use fresh limes?
I used lime concentrate. So I made a double batch each time, and I used 2 ounces of the lime juice for a double batch. So I did half.
Oh, nice. That's what I did. Turned out really well. But I didn't use half the sugar. I used all the sugar, 4 teaspoons.
Oh, I did. I only did 2. I did 3.
So a little bit more than half. Sorry.
That's so pretty when you do that.
I apologize. Excuse me. It was a cough. It was a regular cough. Hello. And you notice I haven't been coughing as much since I quit smoking. Hello.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. I'm very proud of you, and I'm glad that you're going to stop doing those little pouch things. Because I'd hate to, when I finally do meet you next year at GCLS, I'd hate to have you have a big hole in your cheek or something. I wouldn't be able, I would stare at it.
Half my mouth gone. Yeah. No.
Yeah. I wouldn't stop staring. I would just stare at it. I would actually ask you if I could put my finger in the hole.
Oh, that's not right.
Can I touch that?
Well, you can touch my elf ear. How's that?
You have an elf ear?
I do. I have an elf ear in my left ear.
Did it come that way, or was it modified?
No. It came that way.
Wow.
Yeah.
Are you half elf?
No, we're not going to talk about my elf heritage.
We'll have to get Winter to write something up about you.
She probably would, too.
She probably would, except we could ask her to, omit any hair.
Oh, yeah, no hair. Our next show is June 25th, so we'll talk to you all then. Goodbye.
Bye. Oh, hey,
what?
And everybody, while we got you here.
What?
Listen to the freaking bar rag, and let us know if you like it or if you think it sucks ass, because, then we'll just stop doing it. So, just let us know. Shoot us a line,
Well, they're still downloading after my singing on the first one, so it can't be that bad.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, no, I mean, come on. Dogs were barking in the neighborhood when I was singing.
They were barking in my neighborhood too.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.